Hi everyone, this is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn, and I will be analyzing the game for AskAGM.com. And the game is a French defense where white plays very interesting idea, the idea that I recommended in my video on the website called chessopeningsexplained.com, and the fresh idea is this move f4 on move 2. So I really like the way white is handling this opening. The main idea is after d5, e5, c5, black doesn't have the typical target, that pawn on d4. Remember, after knight c6, queen b6, white always has this big headache with that pawn on d4, but here, by delaying the move d4, white doesn't give black any target. Moreover, the pawn on e5 is a really powerful move. This pawn takes away the key square from the knight, and it's actually quite difficult for black to develop his kingside. So after the logical move knight f3, knight c6, white of course delays the d4 with c3. And one idea behind c3 move is the bishop can go to d3, keep an eye on that f5 square, and later take that knight by doubling black's pawns. And that's exactly what white does in this game, which is beautifully executed. Knight e7, knight a3. This is actually not a bad square. The knight will support d4 push later on. h5, prophylactic measures, but white doesn't really mind that. Knight c2, knight f5, and now this very beautiful move bishop d3. White is following my advice. This is exactly the type of position I was aiming for in my games as well. The idea is to take, pawn takes, and d4. Black can't really stop it. Bishop e7, bishop takes, pawn takes, and now you see the double pawns. The bishop is going to be pretty bad, and white now plays d4. Black has no targets, and white has a clear advantage. So let's see if white executed the right middle game ideas here. b6, castle is the right answer. Bishop e6, blockading the pawn, but this bishop looks like a big fat pawn. The bishop has actually no future. Bishop e3, queen d7. And now if you are not sure how to execute the white's plan, take a look what white does in this game. I think this is very instructive. These are the pair of bishops that white wants to trade. The bishop is locked up, and the logical way to do that here this beautiful f2 square. And honestly, black can't really stop it. And queen e1 starts exactly that. Knight a5, bishop f2, beautifully done. White is playing really great chess. c4, white doesn't really mind locking the game because of the two knights. Bishop h4, knight back, bishop takes, knight takes. And here we can conclude that white has very nice advantage. Queen g3. Castling would be suicidal, so black correctly doesn't castle, knight g6. And here is the first moment in the game where white gave black a little bit of counterplay. It's really minor counterplay, almost not an issue. White plays knight g5. I would have preferred to play h4. You want to stop this pawn from moving. You have that outpost. Later on, knight comes here, and eventually you will open the game, the second front. But white probably decided that there was no need to lock himself up with possibilities to play on the king side, especially if black plans to castle. So he plays a reasonable move, knight g5, h4, and queen f3. The idea is knight coming to e3, there's going to be pressure against the pawns. Queen b5, knight a3, using a little tactic. That's a nice tactic of queen takes, knight c4, using the pin on the rook, with the idea to check on d6. So queen a4, rook f2, excellent move. Rook protects everything on the second rank. King e7, and this is a logical follow-up from black's previous play. The king is actually quite safe in the center of the board. Well, so far so good. White has a nice position, but how do you win? How do you make progress? And I think this is the part of the game that white struggled with and did not find proper breakthroughs. Let's take a look. Knight c2, this is the right decision. The knight gets rerouted back to e3 where it belongs. a5, knight e3, queen d7, and here comes the first critical moment in the game where I think white did not play the best move. Rook to e1 is a logical move trying to get the last piece into the game, but unfortunately, there's not much you can do. The e-file is so locked up that white doesn't really have any threats. The right idea here is you have to open up the b file. b3 is the right move, and white is pretty much completely winning. After pawn takes, c4 is virtually unstoppable, and so is d5. Black's position is destroyed. And if black plays the logical move b5, after pawn takes, rook b1, rook b8, white wins the b file. And after this sequence, only white can play for win. With an open file like that, knight c4, pawn takes, rook b7 is a big threat. Black is pretty much lost. I think white has a winning position. So this was the key moment where white sort of did not play the most accurate way. And going back to rook e1, there was one other key moment. After rook d8, queen back, so trying to kind of redirect the queen. b5, queen d2, rook b8. Notice that black is actually trying to do something, but not really serious. a3, rook c8. And here white agreed to a draw. Well, I actually think, given how the game unfolded in the last 3 to 5 moves, black sort of got somewhere on the queen side. Maybe he wants to play b4, whereas white did absolutely nothing, just kind of shoveling the pieces around. Yet, this is an opportune moment to now hit with the right hook g4. That would have been an incredible idea. If pawn takes f5 is basically killer, this fork wins the game. And if pawn takes en passant, after h takes g, this guy is basically unstoppable. Yes, the rook can come to the open file, but so what? There's no threats. And this move is really powerful idea. Black, of course, should play knight h4, and this move kind of keeps black in the game for a little bit longer, but there is no doubt that only white can play for win. White can increase pressure with rook h2, followed by queen f2, and then this position will collapse. So what can I say about this game? Really well played opening by white. Excellent middle game plan with idea to transfer the bishop to h4. Yet white did not sense the key moment when he had to open up the game. First, b3, simple idea to open up the b file. And lastly, at the end, g4 would have been an incredible idea to fight for that kingside space and break through. But hopefully white learned his lessons and can do better next time. Thank you very much. This was Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn for AskAGM.com.